America is on the edge of a precipice, looking over into a raging river of political turmoil, inter-American warfare, and the degradation of democracy. All of it orchestrated by the most deceitful, self-serving demagogue in U.S. history, Donald J. Trump. Now a 34-time convicted felon, Trump is clearly unfit to occupy the office of the president, and his critical mental deterioration is reason enough to disqualify him from ever becoming a leader of any kind, let alone the American president. Some in the media have called his obvious mental problems a cognitive decline. That's not nearly serious enough. What we're witnessing is a completely unhinged collapse in cognition. Throughout his entire political life, and arguably most of his existence, Trump has displayed a shocking inability for rational, coherent arguments and a fundamental lack of communication. Let's examine his recent descent into a potentially dangerous mental state. October rallies 2024. Increasingly violent, coarse, and extreme rhetoric. Referring to fellow Americans as the enemy from within, Trump has been amping up his threats to people critical of him and his policies, laying out his intentions to force the DOJ to go after his opponents if re-elected. Trump has consistently been describing Harris as dumb as a rock and a cognitive mess, while touting his own stable genius. Clearly a projection of his own concerns over his cognitive issues. In the same rally, Trump referred to Harris as a shit vice president, urging his audience to repeat it back. 2. Lancaster, Pennsylvania, October 20th, 2024. In a town hall, Trump had several disturbing moments of rambling verbal missteps, punctuated by his discussion on his lack of cognitive problems, while referring to Kamala Harris's cognitive impairments.
But the one thing they said that was great, we've watched this guy for 20 years. The one thing we know is that he's got no cognitive problem. I have no cognitive. She may have a cognitive problem, but there's no cognitive problem. It was nice that they actually said that. They said, you know, if anyone has any questions, we were grilling this guy for 2 hours or 2.5 hours. Got no cognitive. In fact, if anything, he's maybe better. I don't even know if I like this. Maybe he's better than he was 20 years ago. So anyway, no, and I actually call for a cognitive test for all people wanting to run for president. I think not based on age. You know, some of the greatest leaders in the world, and I'm not 80, and I'm not that close to 80.
3. Sunday, October 20th, 2024. Latrobe, Pennsylvania. As part of his last messaging push to Election Day, Trump shared with his audience a bizarre anecdote about golf legend Arnold Palmer and his apparently legendary penis size. Citing other pro-golfers who had showered with Palmer, Trump seemed to share his admiration of the PGA Hall of Famer's manhood. Trump said, "Arnold Palmer was all man, and I say that in all due respect to women, I love women. This man was strong and tough, and I refuse to say it. But when he took showers with the other pros, they came out of there. They said, 'Oh my God, that's unbelievable.'" Mr. Palmer's anatomical gifts seem to be a very important topic in the psyche of the Donald. 4. October 17th, 2024. Al Smith Dinner, New York City. During his stand-up bit, Trump goes into a salty tirade, resorting to profanity, as has been a disturbing trend of late.
Chuck Schumer is here looking very glum. Doesn't he look glum? He looks glum. But look on the bright side, Chuck, considering how woke your party has become. If Kamala loses, you still have a chance to become the first woman president. And I actually said, "Do you mind if I do that?" He said, "No, you got to do what you got to do." He's a pro. He's a professional. I'm surprised that Bill de Blasio was actually able to make it tonight, to be honest. He was a terrible mayor. I don't give a shit if this is comedy or not. He was a terrible mayor. He did a horrible job. That's not comedy, by the way, that's fact.
5. October 15, 2024. Economic Club of Chicago interview with the editor of Bloomberg News. Without fully understanding the effect of tariffs, Trump is unable to coherently answer any real questions on the economy. Resorting to insult responses and ramblings on mildly related topics, Trump seems to have no idea about any economic plans.
You are making all these promises. Latest one was car loans. You're flooding the thing with giving giveaways.
But we're going to grow.
I was actually quite kind to you. I used 7 trillion. The upper estimate is 15 trillion.
You can
People like the
forget
Wall
it.
Street Journal, who's hardly a communist organization.
Yeah, but you don't know.
They have criticized you on this as well. You are running up enormous debt.
What does the Wall Street Journal know? I'm meeting with them tomorrow. What does the Wall Street Journal know? They've been wrong about everything. So have you, by the way. You've been wrong about everything.
You're trying to turn this.
You've been wrong about it.
No, you're trying to turn this into debate. There are
It's
business
not a debate.
people.
No, but you're wrong. You've been wrong. You've been wrong all your life on this stuff. You've been wrong.
Furthermore, he insists that putting old people into political positions of power would be stupid, despite being the oldest candidate for president ever.
It's amazing because I got 3 in 4 years. Most people get none. Because, you put them in, they're young. You tend to put them in young. Only stupid people put old. You don't put old in because they're there for 2 years or 3 years. Right? So you put them in young. So I got 3. A lot of judges, a lot of presidents get none. I got 3. And
6. October 15th, 2024. Trump trashes Harris's released medical records. Trump posts, "These are deeply serious conditions that clearly impact her functioning. Maybe that is why she can't answer even the simplest of questions asked by 60 Minutes and others. What is this all about? I don't have these problems." Trump, aka the ultimate human specimen, was referring to common seasonal allergies that Harris suffers from. This is coming from an obese, elderly man who has never released his medical history. A man who provided a doctored letter from his gastroenterologist who was forced to sign a falsely glowing endorsement of Trump's health. A man who barely survived COVID after receiving top emergency treatment. A man who claims to be 6'3" and a strapping 215 pounds, and is known to have told over 30,000 lies during his time in office. 7. Oaks, Pennsylvania, October 14th, 2024.
You know what we could do, though? If my guys can do it, how about we'll do a little music. Let's make this a musical fest. Oh, looky, looky.
A town hall turned into a swaying, confused musical dance-along as Trump and his MAGA associate Kristi Noem bopped to several of his favorite tunes. Suffering from intense heat inside the auditorium, 2 audience members needed medical treatment, and Trump decided to troll them with insults about their weight. For an undetermined reason, Trump decided to stop taking questions and engaged in a confused musical jam for the demented. This impromptu musical listening party continued for another 39 minutes, confusing co-host Kristi and the bewildered audience who sweated through it in intense heat. 8. October 10, 2024. Detroit, Michigan. During a talk on the economy, Trump insults Detroit. In Detroit, the whole country will be like, "You want to know the truth? It'll be like Detroit," Trump said. "Our whole country will end up being like Detroit if she's your president." 9. September 10, 2024. The debate. During the one and only presidential debate between Trump and Harris, the unhinged moment of the night came when the former leader of the free world claimed that legal immigrant Haitians living in Springfield, Ohio, were capturing and consuming the pets of the small town's residents.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country.
10. June 9th, 2024, Las Vegas, Nevada. At an election rally, Trump veers off into a verbal tangent, discussing at length about the dangers of choosing to suffer either a shark attack versus electrocution.
So there's a shark 10 yards away from the boat, 10 yards, or here. Do I get electrocuted? If the boat is sinking, water goes over the battery, the boat is sinking. Do I stay on top of the boat and get electrocuted? Or do I jump over by the shark and not get electrocuted? Because I will tell you, he didn't know the answer. He said, nobody's ever asked me that question. I said, I think it's a good question. I think there's a lot of electric current coming through that water. But you know what I'd do if there was a shark or you get electrocuted? I'll take electrocution every single time.
11. May 2024. At a weekend rally in New Jersey, Trump began his obsession with bringing up Hannibal Lecter, the famous cannibal doctor from the film Silence of the Lambs. In a loose attempt at connecting migrants crossing the borders with dangerously insane asylum escapees from southern countries, Trump has continued to cite the fictional character in rallies, consistently referring to him as the late, great Hannibal Lecter, adding further confusion as the character never died in any of the different versions of the stories. All of these moments coming in recent months, Trump has continuously displayed a tragic decline in mental acuity and verbal coherence, suffering from the same maladies that Trump and his MAGA acolytes had been accusing Biden of. Donald Trump is not well. His rapidly diminishing mental faculties pose an existential threat to the safety and wellness of all American citizens. This is a dangerous man who has placed himself and his personal interests above all else throughout his entire life. With his obvious mental malfunctions on disgraceful display, this is a man who must not be anywhere near the Oval Office again.